the gospel's personal and individual. Now, this is obviously, I've just my next few points I will shear down in time. Don actually already said this. In 1 Peter 1 and 2, we see a lot of reference to the new birth. The new birth. And what is the new birth means, think about the metaphor of the birth. It's really, you can't make yourself a Christian. You can make yourself a Buddhist, you can make yourself a Muslim. This is another thing the doctor used to say in his evening messages. You can make yourself a Muslim or a Buddhist, you can make yourself an atheist, but you can't make yourself a Christian. Christianity, to become a Christian, you got to be converted. Notice it's a passive. You don't convert yourself, you're converted. Something happens to you. Through faith, you're born again. You're confronted with your sin against a jealous and holy God, and you see the provision. Now, that's individual conversion. This is really important at this moment in our lives as Christians, especially in North America, but I'm sure other places as well. There's an erosion of confidence in that thing I just said, which is the idea that we have sinned against the holy, jealous God. The wrath of God has to be satisfied, as we sung about it. Jesus Christ has stood in our place, substitutionary atonement. And when we believe in that, and both his obedience and his suffering are imputed to us, I'll get to that in a second. I mean, all that old historic gospel is, to some degree, in disrepute right now. There are a lot of people saying we got to move away from it. Why? Well, background. J.I. Packer, in his little chapter on grace in Knowing God, said there's two things you've got to know in order to really understand the concept of grace. Grace really isn't the opposite of law. He would say you've got to understand two things to understand grace. First of all, you have to understand how lost you are, how bad you are, how dire your condition is, how big the debt is. You've got to understand that. Dr. Lloyd Jones, again, used to say, I learned how to evangelize in preaching by listening to about 200 or 300 of his evening sermon tapes from the 50s. And they were evangelistic sermons. And Dr. Lloyd Jones used to say, if you came to see me and said, hey, I was at your house the other day and a bill came due and you weren't there and I paid it. Dr. Lloyd Jones says, I really wouldn't know quite how to respond. I need to know something about how big that bill was. Was it a package with postage due and you spent another couple bucks? I could say, well, thank you very much. That was very kind of you. What if it's that thing I was afraid of getting from the IRS? You know, saying, here's how many hundreds of thousands of dollars in back taxes, and you paid that. I need it. He says, until I know whether to say thank you or to get down on my hands and knees and kiss his feet, and I don't know how to respond to him. I don't know how happy to be. I don't know how happy to be. I don't know how to respond to him until I know how big that debt was. Now, if somebody says, I believe Jesus died for me, he shed his blood for me, and I've given my life to Christ. I accepted him, I walked forward, I invited him into my life. And you don't see any change in that person's life. You don't see identity shifting, behavior transforming joy. Then what's the problem? People say easy believism. What's easy believism? Well, the idea that you're just saved by grace. Wait a minute, yeah. The problem is this person clearly doesn't have any idea the size of the debt, and therefore the size of the payment. Just has no idea of it. Couldn't have any idea of it.